your legends, when you find your faction, you find emotions in a magic world, in a mythic land, in a mythic space, in a mythic life, in a mythic song. You can be a knight, you can be an elf, you can be an orc, you can be a Monger, or even a skeleton, a demon. You got your legions when you find your faction, you find emotions in a magic world. Yes, guys, this is a Mythic Legion song, but today we talk about something different. Something that made by few guests today, two guests. Something that we can call God Fires. Made by two friends, two guys, two heroes of the Cabal. And my guest tonight is Emil Wickman, a guy from Swedish, from North Europe, using the knife for him. And the other guys, he's a guy with a podcast that everybody knows. He's a guy from Michigan, he's a lord, and his name is Lord Steven. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an epic introduction.
That was amazing.
Yes, I tried to put the Mythic Legion song in the beginning and to create a live impromptu God's Fire song, guys.
Hey, super good.
Now we have a song.
There we go. We start immediately with this project called God's Fire. Tell me how start in the beginning.
How it started?
Exactly.
Well,
yes.
Steven, didn't it start with you? Actually, this was before God's Fire. It started with the first comment, the first character before it was, right?
Yeah, it wasn't called God's Fire. It was just the monks that I wanted to make. The monk warriors, that I was in a church at a wedding, a Catholic church, and I was looking at this, admiring the statues, and there was a statue of this monk-looking guy in robes with a sword, and I thought it just looked cool, and I was like, "What's this guy? He's got no armor, he's got nothing but a sword, and it looked cool, and it was beautifully sculpted, and I was daydreaming when I probably should have been listening to what the priest was saying. But I was daydreaming about a story in my head of these guys that maybe they fight with swords and they think they don't need armor because God is going to keep them safe. And then it just kind of was something I thought was neat, and I didn't let that go until I met Emil, and I said, we started talking about characters we wanted to create, and I said, I had this idea once, and it'd be kind of neat if we tried to do that.
So the monks, this monks type of character was the beginning of the storyline,
and also of our friendship.
Yes,
it's interesting that this world that you build together build also in the same time your friendship. So basically, looks like you are also a part of this world, because without both of you, there's no Godfire's war. But without Godfire's, there's no you together as a friends.
That's true, actually.
Yeah. Yes.
So back to the story. What is the first? So you told me that the monk type of character was the first step to the first door to open this world. But what is actually the first character that was born in this project? With the name, etc.
I would say that the first character that we probably named was the Believer, which was because we Emil sculpted two characters at the same time, but I think the Believer was probably the first one, and he's pretty much, if there was a main character of our story, I would say he's probably it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this Believer. What is the attitude of this character? What is his skills, his power?
Yeah. Well, the Believer is a guy that was his backstory kind of goes like he was a monk. He was raised in a monastery, content with life until these vampires came and came to his village, where his monastery was, and started basically murdering people. And the monks didn't know how to deal with it, so they prayed, and that did nothing for them. So even as religious as this guy is, he decided to seek out more practical ways, and so he started studying ways to defeat vampires. And so that when the vampires actually came to the doors of the monastery, he's the one that warded them off. And he decided that was his thing. He's going to learn how to protect people from monsters. And so he left the monastery and became the best monster hunter around. And eventually joined a religious group of warriors, which is where we started using the Templar bodies to create more of our characters. And he actually creates a 5-man team of guys that are specialized, that go in and take care of threats like this, led by the Believer, who never gives up his devout religious ways, and he's basically the father figure, the wise man, the guy that leads these characters, and each one of the characters that came after that had a specific trait.
Cool. Do you have the figure of the Believer, of this character right there?
Yeah, we both do. Right?
I don't have the Believer in front of me, so show him yours.
Awesome. Really? So he becomes basically he was a monk, but become also a Templar in the same time.
Yep. After he leaves the peaceful monastery to join arms, and serve a better cause. His real name is, they call him Brother Lundberg. He obtains the nickname the Believer because he believes so heavily in his monastic upbringing.
Yeah, and when we talk about the Templars, Alan, we actually have decided, I mean, for the storyline, since this is a fantasy line, we're using the symbol, but we're not using the modern world religions, okay? So we're kind of separating it from Christianity or any religion that are real, you know?
Yeah.
So, but we have more on that probably will be revealed later on. But that's just an important detail for us.
So he's a monk, but we don't know in this monastery in which church is related. That's right.
Exactly.
I think it's a good idea because I'm a world. When I build a world, I am a world builder too. Also, especially as a writer, I think it's really cool. Sometimes I put some reference with the real life, a real world, real place. But sometimes I create story in a city that can be whatever, in every part in the world, because this philosophy to build a story in a world that could be real, but with not that typical reference real, and so including also speaking of religion, politician, and this stuff. This more bigger, like give a more possibility for many people to enjoy that, because sometimes too much realistic reference, maybe someone is religious, for example, maybe don't understand why a monk become a fighter, for example. So I like this idea to stay away to something real, because the creativity become bigger if you give to her more freedom, no?
Yes,
absolutely.
And I think me and Emil have decided. I mean, obviously we're using the Mythic Legion's characters to build our characters on. And so therefore the Templar character, that figure was the easiest one to use. If we were, and this will never happen, but if we were to ever have our own toy line and build these characters from the ground up, they probably wouldn't have a cross on them. They'd probably be some other symbol that we would make up.
Okay. And you told me how started the idea of the story of this village and this monk can then decide to become a warrior to protect the people in general because this vampire. But do you remember how started this idea? Why the vampire and why the monk? The monk you told me before, but why you decide to the first monster that appears in the storyline are the vampire, I believe, no? And what is the inspiration for that? The click that you got for that?
Well, the first sale that we sold the heads in was a Halloween sale. And it
Really, yeah.
do you remember that? It was a monster-based sale, and you had already made a vampire head. Emil had a vampire head, which I thought that, and we never really brought that head into the story or that character into the story, but I thought it was good picking since we were offering a vampire head. It was a good monster to pick up, and everybody can kind of relate to a vampire. And it's there's set rules of killing a vampire or slaying a vampire, and I thought it just was an easy way to build the character and start that way.
Yeah. And that idea has actually kind of evolved since then, right? We've built the story more, but we can come back to that later.
Yes.
What is the main character in the first evil main character that appears in the story?
Who was the first evil guy?
I think we decided the first evil guy from the beginning, but he was just now released. So he was kind of decided from the beginning. There were actually two figures early on. One of them was released quite early, and the other main villain, he was released, or he's for sale right now, actually.
Yes.
And the sale ending in a day or so, or a couple of days.
But I think I think we introduced the first bad guy would be the Dragon Warrior, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The
Dragon. You have him there?
Yes, I do.
Because I'm redoing my version of the Dragon Warrior now because I accidentally sold mine, or not accidentally. There we go.
Awesome. So to build this figure, tell me something behind the scene. For example, for this character, I believe that Steven, he got this inspiration and start to create the storyline for this evil guy. But before to talk about the character and his role in the story and his skills, tell me how it works. Speaking of the creation, the actual creation of the figures of the character, the in and out between both of you, how it works. Tell me something about the story behind the scene of this character to create the figures. The figure without the S. My English is crazy because I learned English with wrestling. Don't forget that, guys.
I'm a big wrestling fan, so I should be able to understand it. So you want us to talk about how we make the actual characters,
Exactly.
the toys.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, in the case of the Dragon Warrior here, I was inspired by the movie Willow. Have you ever seen Willow?
Yes, I saw. I remember very well.
The very, I can't think of his name, but the very bad guy with the skull mask that is very scary. When I was a child, I loved that look, and I was so surprised as a child when he removed it and he was just a normal guy. I figured there was something bigger under there, or something just, and I wanted to do something like that, and that's where I wanted to, I drew this head, I sketched a head, and this head has a removable mask, and it's just a guy. And so when me and Emil had first started talking to him, I drew him. I sent him a sketch of that head, and I said, "Do you think you could do that?" And he said, "Well, absolutely." And
Did I really? Yeah.
you
Okay.
did, yeah. And we did, and he did do that. He did it a couple times. The first time we didn't end up using. You totally went back and resculpted.
Yeah, because I wasn't happy with it. That is actually one of the earlier sculpts that we did together,
Yes.
but it never felt right.
So
So
the back and forth, which I think I send him the sketch, then he starts sculpting, and he'll send me things along the way, and we'll just talk back and forth, and we'll kick around ideas, and I'll say maybe we could try this, and he'll say no, we can't because of this, or yes, we can, and then usually sometimes in a matter of an hour or two, or maybe it's the next day, he shows me the updated version. We just kind of bat it back and forth until we get to where we both love it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So, do both of you live in different countries, side of the world? But I understand that you have a good chemistry, and this chemistry.
no, not at all.
Not at all. Tell me an example why.
Yes, I hope so.
Sometimes there is some. Because there is sometimes that you have disagree with something. What happened when you are disagree with to build it? Maybe both of you have different way to create a character. What is the solution in this moment type of moments?
I simply don't sculpt it. No, but really, I think we tend to. Oh, I don't know.
Well,
This is
we're both very good with criticism. We don't get mad. You know,
Okay.
that's what I think. If I don't like something, first off, I'm not a jerk about it, and secondly, he never gets mad, and if it's vice versa, you know. I remember Emil telling me right from the start, you know, you have to tell me what you're thinking, or else. I don't know if you remember saying that to me, but
I
you
do.
have to tell me if you
I
don't
do.
like something, because it, you know, we don't get any better if we don't do that. So I think both of us we don't keep our ideas so precious that the other one gets angry when we disagree, which we don't disagree a whole lot either, because we're pretty on the same page a lot of the time, I think.
But the criticism is an important factor, because if you don't learn to take criticism, then you will never improve. I mean, or maybe you will, but it's like the improvement speed becomes so much faster that if you listen to someone's criticism, you don't have to change all the time, but you have to listen and learn when to change. Okay, so that's something that I said from the beginning, because I was really appreciated, and I don't know if that's an American thing or if it's a Steven thing, but I appreciate that when, oh, this is not good, and I'm like, what? No, this part suck. I mean, I really like the straightforward thing of I don't like that, and it's not personal. It's not like I don't like you. It's like, you know. That is one important factor, really. And another important thing is that we're really having fun. Like you said, Alan, about creating stories, about creating a world. It's like perhaps a more grown up way of playing, because we're I mean, when you're playing with your toys as a kid, it's like, okay, I'm gonna be the bad guy. I'm gonna do this, yeah, and I have my castle over here. And now we're doing the same thing, but we're creating with words and characters, you know?
Yes, I think that inside of every artist there is a kid still alive. It's the reason why the artist needs to stay a child inside, because these feelings give you the opportunity to open the door in the another world, the world of the creativity, of the story, of the song, of the art, because the art is like a different world that only the artist can open, with this magic door of the creativity. But to cross this door, you need to stay a kid, to still a
Yeah.
kid also today.
And
So it's,
another factor of this, because me and Steven we're talking a lot about the stories, the characters, and everything, but there has happened something new as well. Like, for example, Louis Torres, who is in the chat now, if he's still here, but it's like he has created the God's Fire, his versions of the God's Fire characters as well, and his versions have come back. I mean, affected the stories, because he has done something that I don't think we should go into details on that perhaps yet, or maybe we should, but it's like yeah.
He added an item to his custom figure, and when he told me the story behind it, I was like, because that item meant something, and I was like, that is fantastic. I'm writing that into the story, and he's seen what I wrote, but we haven't actually shown that story yet. But now I've modified my figure to have the same item that his figure does, because
you did that. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, he's got it, and I love it. I love that piece of the story. It really brings out the two characters, because basically there was originally 4 characters of God's Fire. We added the 5th, and the 5th is the Fallen. And once the Fallen was added, which is probably Emil's favorite, it probably might be one of our most popular figures. Once that was added, we really pitted the Fallen against the Dragon Warrior. Those two are at odds, and it really has thickened the plot of the whole thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I want back on track on the storyline. Okay. So I understand that the believer, the monk, left the village to find other fellows to create something to protect the people from the vampire. Tell me what happened later in the story.
Actually, yeah, okay, continuous theme. But actually, he didn't go away to find a group to fight with. He joined this order, the Templar Order, and within that order, he excelled, or he was very successful in leading and what he was doing. So people were drawn to him, like they wanted to be. He had an effect on people, and so all of the other 4 characters of God's Fire, who are like the main group of the whole storyline, they all have an attachment to the believer. So maybe that's the way we should go into just present the other 4 characters, because those 5 main characters are like the center of the story.
So, and the other 4 guys live in the story in the same village, or he meet these guys later?
Later.
Okay.
Yeah. So they don't have a connection to him while he is a monk.
No.
Okay. And how he meets these other guys on his faction, if we can call that.
How does he meet them? Well, the first character that we did, I'll show right now, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that he met, is called the Judge. One of my favorite characters. This is what he looks like. He is the Judge. That's his warhammer, which looks like a gavel, which it is called the Verdict. The Judge he's a heroic character, but I want his character. He's very unlikable. He's a jerk. He's gonna save your butt in a battle because he's a good fighter, and then he's gonna complain afterwards about how he shouldn't have had to save you because you got yourself into trouble. He's that guy that he's annoying, and he's very judgmental of everybody. And the way that they met the believer, actually I wrote into the story, is he's about 10 years younger than the believer, and he was actually at the same monastery. He's the only one that was at the same monastery. And when he witnessed the believer go out and save that monastery, he wanted to work with the Believer. And so when he grew up, he left the monastery too, and he went to war, and he joined the same order as the Believer, and they ended up meeting up because he was good enough. He had battle prowess, and they became friends, and he started working with the Believer. So there's a connection between those two. But yeah, he's a jerk. So
Yeah, and that's the first explanation I got from this character. He's a jerk. So the word jerk was actually that was the main inspiration for the sketch from Steven and the word jerk. So that's what I kept in mind, and I tried to get. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's like I tried to get that on his face, on his expressions, that you could really like. I'm a little bit better than you.
yes.
Yeah. And I must admit that when I got the sketch with this beard, I instantly was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That's not very cool. And then this actually turned out to be one of my favorites as well. It's like, and it's an old one. It's like that's the second sculpt we did together, and before that I hadn't done that many sculpts at all. So it's early in my sculpting hobby.
And tell me something about the other three.
Okay, so I'll do this one, and then you do the next two.
Okay.
So this is the Faithless. I thought it would be fun to have a guy on there. We've already established that the Believer is a religious type guy, and obviously the judge was at a monastery too. I wanted to have a guy that's completely different. He does not have faith. As you see, he scrubbed out his cross on the front of his tunic because he doesn't have any faith. This guy's all science. He's all logic. He's all strategy. He is super smart. Now the thing is he was got himself into trouble with a horde of undead skeletons, and the Believer came to his aid and saved him. And ever since then, even though he doesn't believe in the Believer's faith, he doesn't believe in any of that. He believes in the Believer's kindness and his mission, so he stays with him, and he's their strategy guy. He's their guy when they're going to go attack a castle. He's going to tell which direction they could come from, which way the wind's blowing, how fast they have to travel. He's that guy. He's super smart.
Okay, and before to talk about the other character, I have another general question about the build-up of the story. So there is when you start to think about new characters, you think about before a chapter like the story. What is the process, the creation of the characters in general in this project?
How we create the characters or stories.
Yes, with the stories.
It's different. That's the first word. It's different because sometimes we have an idea for a character in the story. Like we need this character. He's an important character for the story. Okay. Sometimes it's like Steven has drawn something, or I have gotten an idea, and then how can we work this into the story? Because it's the creative process that we're having so much fun with. Like, I really want to have a character like this. Where would he fit into this world? And there are whole groups that we worked into the story, and so many more ideas that we haven't shown. That it's like, yeah, it would be fun to have this. How would that work with a big story? Or would it just affect this small side stories? And all of those things are really intriguing to think about. And I just like bouncing back and forth the creative process there. Like, okay, let's make this character a good guy that is doing this and that. And then we're just thinking about it, and maybe the next day Steven will say, he's not a good guy, is he? Isn't he? Like, we're just bouncing the ideas back and forth. So different processes.
Okay, and speaking of the story, so different process to the creation of the characters. But for the creation, the story, I understand the story could be some influence if you want put some new character in the story. But I believe that there is a way the still in the story. For example, when I create a novel, sometimes I don't know what happened. I'm just following the river of inspiration. But sometimes I have something in my mind that I know this type of story. Maybe the main character has these steps, and maybe want to do that and that and that. So
Yeah.
something is not really scheduled, but there is a little way that you can follow. Is the same also for the story of the God Fires or not?
Yes, we have the big main storyline. There is this big storyline that we are. Every other story kind of builds onto that big story, because like I know you released a couple of books, and if we think about our story as a book, with Stephen as the main writer, he's an amazing writer. Then we have the main story, and the main story is like this, and everything else needs to add something to that story. Okay.
Okay, so tell me, Steven, something about the main story. So I want know more about the main story of this line.
The main story is basically about. It's about groups of people that are enemies, but they basically the lines are totally going to get blurred by the end. People who are at odds with each other right now will end up on the same sides to unite against the common evil. People in the beginning of this, God's Fire is tasked to find out what the Dragon Warrior is doing. That's their mission. There's a lot of backstory about where all these guys met and everything else, but that's their mission, is to find out what this guy is up to. And he is up to no good. He's causing havoc. There's a whole group of people that are he likes the non-human people, which are kind of at odds with humans. They feel like they haven't been treated well with the humans, and so there's this war, this split going between humankind and orcs and skeletons and vampires, and all these other people are on the other side. We call that the Alliance. And what those people don't know is they're being played by a big bad, and in the end, that big bad's going to get revealed. The Dragon Warrior seems like the evil guy, but it's going to find out that he's not as bad as people think.
Cool. And I believe also as a writer, and also in the end will be revealed this real evil guy, but I don't think it will be the real end, because we know this story need maybe another book, no? Maybe it could be a series of book, I believe.
Yes,
And,
it could be.
most of the stories or for the characters we have revealed, you can read the stories, the bios on our website. And we actually recorded last summer. We recorded the stories as audio files, the ones that had been revealed at that time, so you can listen to those stories as well.
Maybe I think when you arrive in the end of this book, so with the reveal of the big bad guy, maybe it could be interesting also create an ebook or an actual book also for the story. Should be interesting too.
Yeah.
Well, that's something we've talked about.
It was frozen. I don't know if you missed my questions, because for a few seconds I saw that we or me or some of us was frozen. I don't know. You listened to the question.
I think we heard the question. Was maybe there would be a book? Is that what you asked?
Yes, I think that when you arrive in the end of this story with the reveal of the big bad guy, maybe it should be the time to create the first book or ebook with the complete storyline.
That would be a dream. That'd be really cool. If that were to happen. You think?
Especially create an ebook is not difficult. And a real book, you need something that publish that. Sometimes it's tricky find the perfect editor. I don't know, publisher. I believe because in Italian we call it editor, but maybe in English is publisher, or the correct word to publish. Because, for example, as a writer, to me, it's not difficult to create story. I published 5 novels so far, but I have other, including the story that's still working now, other 33 novels ready to go. Not 32, one not because still in progress. So create a story is not difficult because if you are an artist, it's something natural. The problem is publish a story or publish a song. Since a song is more harder to do, especially in Italy. The worst in Italy we have the worst music and the worst production people, really jerk people in the music business in Italy, really bad. So you can have a lot of creativity like these notes on the piano, but the problem is publish something in general. But some way like created, become a YouTuber or do stop motion, create something like you did is cool because you can do that by yourself without outside company or producer then try to put some decision they take over your project or they don't understand you or many stuff that is not really artistic. So I think it's a good way. I think that when an artist build a world that can be a stop motion series, that can be a novel, that can be a line of action figures, in the same time build a world that he can be happy and forget something that is not really pleasure in the life. No, it's an interesting escape. The art.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
It is.
So back on track. And the other guy, tell me something about the other 2 guys in the 2 main villain. Not we talk about later. The heroic character, the heroes.
So
Yes.
we go with this guy, and this
Yeah.
is the Redeemer.
Looks like a badass. This one.
And that he is. This is the powerhouse of the group. Stephen, feel free to tell me about this guy.
So the biggest thing you need to know about him is he's blind, and he was brought into the group by the judge. This is the judge found him. He had been the subject of spells, potions, and sorcery of a witch, and she was basically creating her own bodyguard with him. So he is supernatural. What she did to him caused him to lose his sight, and the judge took him over. Didn't take him over. He took care of him when he first lost his sight, and so he is very loyal to the judge. And the magic works in a weird way because when the judge passes judgment on somebody, the Redeemer regains his sight, and he carries out that sentence.
Interesting.
So
I like that because it's something. There is something. A character is like something that you can see in the front, on the left, on the right, on the back, but sometimes the story don't give you the possibility to understand inside. But this one is interesting because an inside characterization of the character with this possibility that can happen. I like that. I like this idea to build this character.
And it actually creates some. Man, Stephen, I really think. We need to publish the stories in sooner or later because I really like the stories where Stephen has the dialogue between these two. Because they have a special connection, and it's like
they do.
So in one way, it's pretty weird that when he Some, what did you say? Judgment. When he judges someone, uh, he acts, and that's
Well,
like, whoa, is he using him? That is not. Well, maybe. So it's interesting to see
well,
their relations.
the really interesting part is we really wanted the judge to be a jerk, but the jerk of the group is the guy that is the one that decides to take care of the blind guy, and so he's got a heart in there, and the judge didn't ask for that. He didn't ask for to use the Redeemer. It's just something that happened. And now they know what happens, and now they know that the Redeemer is unstoppable if the judge passes judgment on somebody. And so, the Redeemer is that character I picture these 5 guys riding up over a hill, and they're all talking, and the Redeemer's not even paying attention. He's blind. He's looking off into the different direction. He hangs out with them. He's kind of keeps to himself. And then all of a sudden, when the chips are down, the judge passes that judgment, and the Redeemer just comes alive, and he's a wrecking ball.
Awesome. I like this idea. Tell me what is also for this idea, for this connection for these two characters, because it's original as idea also because one is the Redeemer put his action, but not because the other one used him, because there is a magic or more than magic, because also in the life there is a connection between two people, and you don't know why, So this is really fantasy, but in the same times also so realistic, because something happened in the life, in good and bad way. But tell me, what is the inspiration behind this idea?
Well, for me, I like to do things that are opposites. I like to make the jerk the good guy. I like to make the weak guy the strong guy. I like to make the smart guy, or the one that doesn't have the faith, be super loyal to a guy who is built on faith. I love adverse things. I like scales that and that's where I come up with a lot of my ideas. I think of what could be what's the least likely two pair to be together, and put those two guys together. That's fun for me.
Cool. And now tell me something about the number 5, the 5th guy.
Can I show it?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, I think that you showed me that last time, Emil.
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, because it's familiar to me.
So, this is the Fallen. And I must admit, I'm biased perhaps or whatever, but this is my favorite. This is my favorite character of all. So, well, where did this start? This has so much story to it, so much dialogue between us, and so much other input.
Well, it just started. It's very simple. We didn't really know what we were going to do with him, but we wanted to do a guy with a mask.
Yes.
Another guy with a mask. Like the Dragon Warrior has a mask, but we wanted to do a different type of thing. And I think you came up with a skull.
No. I think you are... Yeah. I wanted the skull, but I'm not sure... Yeah, I really don't remember. I think I wanted to have a skull.
I think you designed a skull,
Yes.
and then we thought... And this guy totally happened by... This is an example of us trying to make something fit into our story. And I think it turned out great. Because he's on the good team, but he has this scary skull faceplate he wears. And that's where we thought, well, what if he is a really good guy, but he has fallen? He's a fallen angel is what he is. He was the guy that had the best intentions in life, but things didn't go his way, and he gave in to revenge. And he has almost developed split personalities, which he lets you know by wearing his mask. You see how his mask fits on his shoulder pauldron.
Yes.
And so he's trying to walk the path of the good guy, but when he loses his temper, when he hulks out, when he turns to the dark side, he removes that off the side of his thing and he puts that faceplate on. And when that happens, he's bad.
It's like he's allowing himself to be the bad guy.
Yes.
And he has in his bio, in his story, you can see why he turned to be such a violent person one time, a long time ago. But since he turned from that path, this is his way of remembering that side of him, and he's chosen to use that bad side in a good way, or for good, maybe you could say.
So he can use also his bad side to good proposition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that he is split personality, but he, like all the other characters, there are many sides to him,
Yes. The danger with him is will one day the bad side go too far? Bad side go too far? Will he lose control? That's the danger, and he has a lot of animosity and jealousy for a certain situation that could drive him to that type of action.
Yeah.
So this one is a guy that can cross the line forever.
That's the fear. And the judge is very important to him because the judge is the guy that the fallen looks up to, and the judge is the guy that counsels him, and the judge is the guy that keeps him helps keep him on the straight and narrow. So if
You
something
mean
were,
believer, right?
I'm sorry, I meant to say the believer. The believer is the guy that does all that for him. I'm sorry. And if something were to happen to the believer, or something where maybe they think something happened to the believer, that could be a bad situation for the fallen.
Okay, and now tell me something about the Dragon Warrior. When he appears in the story, what is his bad mission and why he won't take over everything? Tell me something about this character.
he is really fantasy based. Abandoned child, raised by a dragon, raised by a mama dragon. He crawled up into a dragon's nest and laid down inside a freshly hatched egg. And the dragon thought,
Okay, sorry.
what? Huh?
So the legend says.
This is the legend. Yes, the legend is that he crawled upside and took a nap inside a freshly hatched dragon egg. His mom thought that was her baby, so she kept him safe. And he learned to live amongst the dragons, and he learned to live amongst the nature and all the creatures in the forest and everything else, and he was having a good old time. A little bit like Mowgli from the Jungle Book. And until one day he comes home and he sees his dragon mother being killed by hunters. And this makes him hate man, even though he is a man. So he fashions his armor out of dragon's skin, or pieces of hatched egg, or the teeth that fall out of baby dragons as they grow are what's in his mask. And he goes and lives amongst man to find out how he fights and what he does, but he does not feel comfortable among man, and he doesn't trust them.
So this was a loner, a guy that live alone without friends, not as an outsider in the life. In general, if you is a typical idea, no, in the story, not also in the fantasy, that a guy that is outside of the society, outside because he's different. Many times this different guy can be bad because also from some reasonable reason also in the same time, because you know what happens when someone is different, no? And so when someone is different, like for example, remember, I don't know right now, Edward Scissorhands of Tim Burton, no? Was can be a good guy but also a bad guy because start to hate the normal people, because many times the normal people don't understand something that is different, and this is typical. But there are different guys. The stranger, the guys is different. That could be smarter and try to find a way to fascinate also the normal people. And sometimes it's the role of the artist, no? And sometimes it can become a really bad guy. So I like this topic about this character.
And
And
I like the way that you wrote the bio, Stephen. That it's like for the other characters, it's really this is the story. You know, this is the but for Dragon Warrior, it's like nobody knows his
Yes.
background. There are many different versions or myths about where he came from. This is the most popular one. And so this story goes. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's fantasy. It like Mowgli. Maybe it's real. Maybe it is real. Maybe that is the way. Or maybe it's something totally different, but it's like, and you guys won't know for a long time.
that's cool because there's more mystery in that. No, this create a legend behind the character. No, you can the story that everybody think right can be the right story, but maybe it's not a real story. I like this mystery, the still like a fog that surrounded the character. No, so I
Yeah.
like this idea. So I like this. I understand that you, as a writer, is you, Stephen. You're a guy that um, try to create different way for each character because a guy that read a book, the gata figures like that is like someone that meet your characters, no? So and you with this philosophy, you have different way to meet the character, no? You can meet one side, other side. So I like this because it's not basic like at the story because we know that some characters are really basic in some storyline, also in popular storyline, in popular toy. Sometimes it's based, sometimes no, sometimes yes. But I like this idea. Uh, Also, as a writer, I like it, no, because I like give you different shadow of the character to understand the character. And I believe that this bad guy, like every bad guy, needs some minion, someone that works to him. What is the other bad guys that, under the lead of the Dragon Warrior, try to take over everything?
Well, here we have. This is more of a like you think you were just talking about. This is more of a simple character. This is Barian. He's a crazy barbarian type guy. He doesn't have any morals or scruples. He'll do anything. He stinks. Some people think he's crazy. He talks to himself. He laughs at jokes no one hears. He's in his own little world. And he's basically a minion. He's basically he's the guy that rides in behind Dragon Warrior, and this guy just wants to burn down the village and beat people up. He's at his best when he's fighting. He's very simple. But that's one of the people that would be part of the what we call the alliance. Is the what would appear to be the bad guys, but a lot of the very lines of the very. It's not a lot of black and white in my story or our story. It's all shades of gray a lot of times.
Cool, cool.
But this one is not very great.
Yeah. He's pretty simple. He's a bad guy.
Yes, I think it's a more because the barbarian, the brutal guy, are more basic than a guy like Dragon Warrior, a guy that have maybe in the beginning he wasn't bad but become bad for some reason. You can discover that maybe also in the story that was not the real story, but probably the most credible story, the story of the storyline of the dragon. So
Yes.
you can wonder that the idea of the problem, the different guy in a war with normal people. So some reason behind, but this other one looks like the typical brutal guy
Yeah.
that needs also a leader, typical like Beastman in the Master of the Universe. I remember that. Beastman is brutal, is a beast, or Grizzlord, the same things. These guys are basically brutal, but they have a different way to understand because they are like a punch in your face. Is a punch in your face. It's nothing more than that, no?
Yes.
Because
It's
but the story needs this type of character, in my opinion.
it's funny that you mentioned Beastman because he was an inspiration. It's just why it's why I always pictured him with orange hair. You know, he was the Beastman of this group, kind of.
Because we are both artists, and I talked about that with Emil last time, I believe. When the artists meet each other, starts a connection. So you feel something. Also, if you don't tell me that, I got that. No, it's the
Yeah.
connection between the artists.
Yes.
An interesting thing with the Varian head is that, I mean, if we say, for example, the Fallen, maybe he's one of the top sellers, you know, because many people have bought that one. When it comes to Varian, it has not sold as well, but I have gotten a lot of great comments from other artists when it comes to Varian. And that's very interesting. Like, people have contacted me like, that expression, that is one of the best heads you've done. So it's different people who also appreciate different aspects of the characters or the sculpts or the stories, you know? That's just an interesting, yeah.
I saw in the comments that there are other people like me. The ones could be a book format one day. Some idea also the people that listen you.
Well,
I think I understand
it's gonna
also.
happen. I'm saying that it's gonna happen because you don't have to make 1,000,000 copies to have a book published, but it's super fun to have a book published of a project that like this. So I'm saying that, Stephen, it's gonna happen.
In the meantime, we should tell people, because I don't think we have told people. You said that the bios are all available, but we didn't say where. You need to go to
No, we didn't.
godsfireseries.com is where you
Okay.
can read the stories to all these characters and more that we maybe are going to get to now.
And where the people can buy the figures also in the same site.
So the figures obviously are all based on Mythic Legions. This wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the Four Horsemen and their awesome toy line that we use as our base for all of these fun 3D parts that we sell from Wolf King Customs. So you want to go to wolfkingcustoms.com. We actually have a sale going right now that's going to end probably on Monday sometime. So if you haven't ever checked us out or checked out Len over there, you can pre-order a lot of the newer characters that are coming out now, and it's a good place to go.
I think I'm agree with you about that. Without the Four Horsemen Mythic Legions, also can happen. Also, this show, this episode actually, and also I think I can tell for me also without CB, because I have a little story that sometimes I tell with my guests related with Mythic, because when I do my first episode with CB was 2 times my show. At that time I know a little bit the Mythic Legions line. I know especially some the Motu homage, but and for that I was not really interested because I like Motu. I don't like something that's similar. No, but when I did the interview, I go to the website to as a real professional journalist to learn more about that and start to something interesting to me because I'm, for example, a Hero Quest fan. So I'm a game player for Hero Quest with my girlfriend. I like fantasy. I like Lord of the Rings, this stuff. And after my interview with CB, during the interview, he told me that the figures were in different scales. So dwarf, the knight, 60 inches, the ogre, the troll. And I like that also because if you compare also different goblin, you discover different sizes of goblin. For example, as a customer, I'm a customizer too, but for wrestling figures, because in this channel, I create a stop motion series, weekly show of WWF Hasbro stop motion, and to have the complete roster of the 80s, 70s, and the early 90s. I started to create design custom with my friend Scott to me of never made before custom figure for Dino Bravo or for example, Duke the Dumpster Drosy or Ice Tax Calhoun guys from the 70s too. So I created a roster, I did a story for each. But because I do when I work in that, I told with my friends, remember, if you do a custom figure of Big John Studd, it needs to be taller than Bret Hitman R because it's a giant. Come on. And sometimes in the toy, including the Mattel retro figure, you find the figure. I saw right now the new Tugboat. Tugboat is a super heavyweight. They use the same body part of Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is not a small guy, but he's not a giant. And I don't like this story where they put everybody in the same size. And when CB told me that about Mythic Legions, this blew my mind. Immediately, that night, I had a dream. When was with my father, it was like an earthquake, some natural struggle. He told me, come on, save your figures. And did that house in the dream was I was full of Mythic Legions. And so why? I never had this figure before. The day after, not the morning after because I slept in the morning, but like at 4 p.m. When I wake up, I go immediately to Frostman Studio. I read every bio. I say, why? I discovered that only right now. This is for me. Come on. So I start to create the idea of the chess game because I want to create this chess game with Mythic Legions. And I pick different characters, including many old characters. I spend a lot of money to find Almir Golden Tooth or John Rue Shaper or this difficult figure to find. But when I got my first figure, a big emotion today for that was Kim Brondon. Was surprised because it was the first time that I got a Mythic Legions figure. The details blow my mind. The line in the face. Wow, I was really, really excited for that. But it looks like this figure told me, Alan, please, you're right. Create something to me, a story. So I started to build a big throne room diorama for my stop motion. I create a story for stop. So I understand why you start this project, guys, because the Mythic Legions is something that is a big push for the creativity, especially for the storyteller. Because also in the Mythic Legions line there is an interesting storyline, no? But they give you they pretend to you to give them this figure like they are real. Remember when I displayed my first 6 figure on the table, are so realistic. They looks like in a few seconds they start to walk in my table because unbelievable the realistic stuff of these figures. Yeah. So I still really excited for this line. Today, 1 year later, over $5,000 spent for this figure and for dioramas, okay? A not rich guy, okay? But because I'm going crazy, we going crazy for that because it's something really special if you love this type of atmosphere. Yeah. If you're an artist like me and you guys, we need to create something with this guy. We need to put. I use the real character of Mythic Legions, but I put in different faction. For example, the king of the white faction. Also, in each faction there are sub factions, so different shade of white or black. But the king of the white faction is Kim Brondon, but he's not a really good guy. For example, no. And Queen Artemis joining forces with him, but she's forced to do that because they have, like your story, common bad guys to fight. No, so this is what happened during with Mythic Legion. So speaking of Ross, so back on track on your storyline.
Yeah,
tell me something about other bad guys in the story.
Well, I think this is where we should probably talk about the Mud Thumps, huh?
Sure.
Sorry, because my girlfriend passed in front of me and she tells something that I don't understand and distract me. So you need to repeat. Sorry.
We could just mention one other one before the Mud Thump. This is a weird one.
Okay.
I'm thinking about Sir Jeremor.
Oh yeah.
So,
Jeez.
so this guy,
Wow.
uh, this guy is a very well. This is a special character. So, this is Sir Jeremor. Well, and this one actually started with the head sculpt. Okay, so we had this head sculpt, and now who is this character? And then Steven started writing, and then we found out. Actually, basically, that's how it was, right?
Pretty much. You said you always called him the half demon guy,
Yeah,
and so obviously it's a guy that is half demon and half man. It appears, and Emil had made the sculpt, and we wanted to put him in our story, so we did. And basically, that was, I think, where the first part we actually wrote the big bad guy Perosa into his story.
yes. So yeah, so there are great hints in his story about the main bad guy.
Yes, Lord Perosa. And basically, this guy was a gallant knight, but was assigned to a. He had. Yeah, it's coming back to me. I wrote this one a long time ago. He was a gallant knight that always fought with bravery, but he always seemed to be on the losing side. He lost many friends. He saw all kinds of horrible atrocities in battle, and at an early age he was weary. He was tired of battle, and so the bad guy who comes off as a good guy, puts his arm around and says, you need to just get away from things, and I want you to go out and check out this mountain, and I want you to explore there. And there was something he was supposed to look at, but I can't remember it right now. So he sends him away to this mountain, but it was a trap, because that mountain has a demon in it, and that demon is looking for a host. It's looking for a host body.
Wasn't it that demon that he was gonna find?
Is that what he was looking for? Was the demon himself?
I think so, but now I'm
That's
getting.
probably what
Now I'm getting.
it's been so long since I've read
Yeah.
this one, and I wrote it so long ago. But to make a long story short, he finds the demon, but the demon takes him and takes him over, and basically says, gives him an ultimatum. He says, I can live in the deepest part of your soul, and I'll only just take up a little spot in your soul, and you can walk out of here, or I'll kill you right now. So he really doesn't have a choice. So he walks out of that mountain, and the demon tells him, he says, you know what? I'll live here and I'll be quiet, but if you ever need me, if you ever need my power, I can help you save your loved ones. I can make the good guys win. All these battles that you lost all this horrible things you've experienced, you don't need to experience that stuff anymore. I can help you. I have power. And at first, Sir Jeremor decides not to use the demon, but a few things happen, and he starts using him little by little. But the other side of that coin is the more he uses that power, the more space in that soul the demon takes up. And so after years and years and years of all of a sudden, the guy who could never win a fight never loses a fight, and he's actually starting to physically become the demon and lose himself in the demon. So it's a very tragic story.
Looks like a little bit the Dorian Gray of the fantasy world, a little bit.
Spawn, maybe? Spawn, he's got this power, but every time he uses it, he gets closer to death. I mean, it's, there's a few... Or he gets closer to his soul, losing his soul to Malabogia, if you have ever read Spawn.
Yeah, and here we have another great example of... and I'll mention Louis Torres again, because his idea to have the torso. Yeah, I mean, you remember this, Louis? Of course you do, because you have the figure still. But you have a torso made where the armor was crushed, and the demon was, that side of him. So I simply painted the torso in different colors, but he had the torso sculpted so you can see the demon side breaking loose. that was a really really great thing to see, and that was super fun to see. I remember how it affected me to see someone else get so involved in the story that we were playing with. You know, suddenly it was like, wow, we're sharing this story with others as well, and that, like we mentioned earlier, Louis Torres has read and added more things to the story than he realized.
I would
Cool.
like. I haven't ever figured out the ending to that character's story, but I would like to see somehow his humanity could win over the demon. It'd be fun.
But isn't that the thing, that we want to see that? But wanting to see it, we shall see. That part has not been written.
No,
But it's like you want that side to win, but it's like, okay, can an arm regrow?
it's such a catch-22. If you had the power in you, would you use it and save people that are good
Exactly.
and slowly lose your soul, or would
Yeah,
you
because
just?
because the thing is that he's a good guy I mean, one of those really good guys that are not just pretending to be good, you know, and to use the bad for the good. Always this scale, right? This balance,
The balance is really, really fragile, in my
and
opinion.
that makes it interesting when it's not black and white. Like, if only I add a little gray to this white.
I think sometimes also for a character be in this gray area is more dangerous than to be in the white side, on the black side, because you can fall in on one. It is difficult to stay in balance, no, in the gray position like
But
that.
I think we all can relate to the gray scales more. I mean,
Yeah.
because in I mean, that's why one of the things that I love about fantasy. Like, you can imagine there is white and black, good and bad, but that is kind of old fantasy. I mean, nowadays fantasy is more like it turns more into the gray scales, and it's easier to relate to the gray scales. One wants to think of yourself as, I'm good, or if you think bad of yourself, I'm bad. But the more honest way is to really see the gray scales. But you're trying your best, right? That's all we can do.
And speaking of the location of the story, there is an headquarter for the bad guys in the storyline.
There is. We have started to work on a map because I mean, we are visualizing this, of course, in different ways. Me and Steven, when we're talking about the stories, like, where are the locations? Something is happening up in the north, and to make it, well, fun for us and for everyone who are interested, the map has started to take shape. So we have something to look at. I mean, and I always love the role playing aspect of it. The more information you can get, like, we have stats on each character that we post on the website, like a meter. How strong is this character? What is the charisma of this character? How intelligent is this character? This way you can kind of compare the different characters on how we see them. So the map is coming along.
Okay, but there is also, for example, a castle for someone in the story. For example, what is
Well,
the the main location, for example, for the Dragon Warrior? I believe he has a headquarter.
the Dragon Warrior, yes, he lives in a he lives away from humanity, like you would expect, in a wooded area. I don't know if we've put a name to it, but I have that spot in my head of where he lives. The the God's Fire team, those guys are out and about, roaming all over the place, wherever their mission brings them. But there's the Grand Order, is where their 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 religious military center is. It's where they would go to see the grand leader of the order, who runs the whole show. Which we haven't created that character quite yet, but we know he exists. He's there. We've created his henchman, the Crucible, but which is actually, I can show you real quick. So this guy would be. This is another mysterious character. We're not sure what he is, if he's human, but he only obeys the one guy, the grand leader of the order, and that's it. And he follows through, or he dies. He is a guy that is unyielding and doesn't speak. So yeah, we've got that would be, so the grand leader would basically be the believer's boss. And the boss of all that whole area, or that whole army. So we know where like on the map, there's that castle or that fortress where they are. We know where the dragon warrior lives. We know where the Mud Thumps swamp is, because we'll talk about the Mud Thumps, which is
We have a location, and we have a location for the Corruptorans.
The Corruptorans have the castle. Yes, they've got a castle, and it's high up on a mountain. So yes, there are definitely locations.
I think it could be interesting also create some diorama inspired from your story.
We have seen. I mean, Curtis Ackerman, for example.
Yes.
He got his wife involved with the storyline. So she has made an excellent, really excellent hut for the Mud Thumps. And it's like, wow, I'm behind now. I don't have a dio at all. So this is really fun to see.
Very fun.
Really cool. And I think we can continue to discover other characters.
Yep.
Along with the five main characters, there is other good guys that joining force with them.
Yes.
Yes. You have any out? I can't.
Shilana, for example.
Shilana.
Or actually, well, I would consider her a good character, but I'm not sure how to put her into the story with the five guys yet.
Yeah. So it's funny because the way we've written the story is it kind of it's not almost right now it's not a linear story. We know where the future's going and we know where the past has been. There's like a snapshot of where the toys that we make, or the characters we make in the toys, that's at like a certain part in the story. Yeah, so Shilana is at the point where we're making, when we represent the toys, they haven't met her yet, but she will be very important in the end.
It's not. I think it's not easy work like that. So I have a story in your mind, but put the toys later. So it's not easy create works like that. No, because you can reveal something about the story because you needed to put out the action figure before, I believe. No.
Well, yeah. Yes. But I mean, it's hard because, okay, so the original ideas was we have this special team of guys, and then we have to tell how they met, so we're working in the past, but we also know where they're going, and it, it's like yeah, it would have to progress. Now, the way I've always thought of the way we could reveal those stories of how the story could progress is with accessories. There's a story to be had about the believer's sword. That is a big part of the story. And we've already released the believer's sword, but there's a way to, like, maybe I always thought we could release the believer's sword again, and this time we're going to put this story with it, and that's going to expand on everything. Or there's a special staff, magical staff that Shilana is going to have at some point, and maybe when we release that staff, we could tell that part of the story and why that matters to the future of this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure there are hints that we could say, but I'm not sure how many hints we want to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to the good characters, that you can say that are more on the good side at least, since I mean we are talking about gray and not black and white. But Shilana, she is one character that I would well put more to the good side at least.
Yes, yes, I would definitely. She's definitely on. Yeah, more to the good side, definitely. And there are characters that. So, like I said, this is all gonna where everything's going. There are characters that are bad right now that are not gonna. They're gonna end up being heroes, and I don't have one done, so I can't show him. But General Sivart would be one of those characters.
He is part of the alliance, the same the same force that Dragon Warriors is leading. That's General Sivart. Um, I don't have one either. Not now.
No. I
Have you
did.
sold yours?
I did sell mine.
That's the problem with you selling all your stuff. Don't sell your stuff, Steven.
Well, the problem is somebody will see it and they'll want it, and I know I can always get more of them. So I'll be like, okay, you can have this one, and I'll get another one, and I'll make one again.
I think also that both of you need to have a copy for each character that you made.
Yes. Yes, and that's the thing. I had to sell some figures last year. Okay, and I need to redo them. So the Dragon Warrior, for example, I'm redoing that character, but I mean I'm painting it right now. So this one will be more. I've seen others use red on the Dragon Warrior, and I'm going to red, black, and gold this time with the Dragon Warrior. Okay, this is General Sivart. Can you have it closer, or is it?
Tell me something about the story of this character.
So we envision this being used on a dwarf body with the hooves like a Borrier. And he is a race a species we call a Ramorian, a Ramorian. And he is a general. He is a general of these characters. They're kind of a military group of people that their species has been looked down upon because of their pig-like or their animalistic nature. They've been pushed around, and he is the first guy to kind of organize them militarily. And they because of the way they've been treated by mankind, they are ripe for being controlled by the evil guy in this. And so they're definitely part of what we call the Alliance, the bad guys. But Sivart's no dummy, so when he may see some things that may change his way of thinking.
Cool.
So, and it's funny, I mean, the Sivart is, we have a friend, his name is Travis. Sivart is Travis spelled backwards. I mean, we do things, to kind of include our friends in these.
So there are inside of your story, and there is some character inspired by your friends too.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't like someone in your storyline? Because as a writer, sometimes with some people I don't like someone. He have some problem in my story, and maybe some problem with some killer or some ghost or some creature, and maybe it will not live forever. Someone they don't like in my story.
We haven't done that yet. We haven't put anybody we don't like in our stories. But then, one of the funnest things I think that came out was very early on. Me and Emil both said we wanted to do some goblins, and we wanted to do a goblin family. We wanted to have this family of goblins and work them into this story. And that is where the Mud Thumps came from. And the Mud Thumps are Well, they're basically the organized crime of the God's Fire world, um, run by Mama Mud Thump. So, do you have Mama?
No, I got my parts only a
You
few
don't.
days ago.
Yeah,
Have you sold yours? You have.
yeah.
You have. We haven't. We don't have.
You
Well.
have Momo.
Oh, I have all the others.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I'm
Well, then,
responsible. And I
so
keep figures.
because you're responsible.
There are two characters in the family that the two latest released characters, and I just got the parts in hand, so I haven't gotten the chance to make them yet. And that is the Mama Mud Thump, the
Well,
leader.
we can describe her. She's basically she's an old she's Mama. She's an old goblin, and she runs the family, and she's the matriarch of the family. But my favorite character, I think, of the whole thing is Bobo or Momo. Momo, and Alan, you talked earlier about different scales of figures, and so early on we thought that it would be funny in our goblin family to have an ogre be in the goblin family. So the story behind Momo is that Mama found him as a baby, abandoned in the woods in the swamp, and she took him home, and she thought he was a much older goblin, but when she got him home and she realized he was a newborn and he was just big because he's not a goblin, he's an ogre. And he's a crowned ogre. We even named a species. He's got these little horny things on his head.
It?
Huh?
Do you have it?
I do not. I thought you said you did.
I did.
Here he is.
I remember because last time, I remember I played also something. I played like the Adam family to the Goblin family the last episode because I remember also the storyline of this maybe not really smart ogre that the thing to be a goblin. So I remember this
Yes.
comedy idea. I like also to put some comedy stuff in the story. It's nice because we need different temperature in the story,
Yeah.
We need some jokester or not, or some idiot or two, because we need some idiot in the storyline, in a story.
Yeah. We have.
But the Goblin family is they live for themselves, or they are related with the Dragon Warrior.
They'll do anything for money. So they don't really care about the cause of the Dragon Warrior or the Alliance, but they can be just paid a little bit of money and they'll do whatever they want. So they're the mercenary type of, they're out for themselves, like you were alluding to. They live in the swamp far away in a booby-trapped swamp that's hard to get anybody in and out of there, and they'll do whatever. They're down for whatever. You could even see, honestly, I've thought about some funny storylines where maybe even God's Fire uses them for because they would do something for them too if they were given for the right motivation.
So they are mercenary for both sides.
Yes, I think they mostly are going to be. They mostly would be working with the bad guys, but we could always have some fun and have the good guys.
They're working for themselves.
Yes.
Whatever benefits them.
Yes.
There are other group like them in the story. They work from themselves. And they maybe we can consider them not bad or not good, but only someone they can be in the story for some reason.
Yes, I mean, there is one group that we have decided to not release much information on, but that we have more, and that is the Corrupterans or Corrupterans. We still pronounce it in two different ways, but I'll stick to mine. Okay. And this is, like I've said before, I'm gonna repaint this one. I think the ones that Steven did were so much more fun. This is just too dark. But these are, warriors from the north.
Yes.
Take it away, Steven.
Well, basically, Corrupteran or Chirupteran. If you look up the species of a bat, you'll find that there's some genome or whatever called a Chirupteran or something like that, and that's where I came up with the name. So these guys are basically bloodsuckers. I mean, they're vampires. We don't call them vampires because they're a different kind of vampire. I'm sure that many lore. Somebody told me, and I'm not aware of it. Somebody told me that there's another. In some story, there's something similar, but basically, in the way we wrote or we thought of these guys is, they are the purest, oldest vampire that doesn't have all the weaknesses of a normal vampire. So they sun doesn't bother them. Stake through the heart isn't going to get them. So this causes a problem for our world's greatest vampire hunter, the Believer, because when he comes toe to toe with these guys, he doesn't know what to do with them. So it's a new challenge for God's Fire to figure out these people.
Okay, and you told me before about the story in the beginning. The first evil creatures that appear in the story are the vampire. So, what is the main character in the vampire race?
You named these guys.
Yeah, we have three named characters so far. The thing is that the Corruptorans are no, what would you say? They are not the Corruptorans themselves. Every one of them is a named character because, for example, I mean they have been around for a long time. So the three named characters so far are Parisia, Valakir, and Kogoro. And we have not printed separate stories on those characters, but instead just a short story to summarize what the Corruptorans are.
You did also the actual figure for this character, or not yet?
Yes, we have. Yeah, for all three characters. So they were released as an idea to have them all unique helmets and unique unhelmeted versions.
Yep, three different guys. A blonde guy. I don't know. You don't have their. You probably don't have.
You say blonde.
I painted him blonde.
You painted him blonde. I have another idea for you. But they all share the same, these huge pauldrons.
Okay, so you recognize that they are the same group because of the pauldrons.
Yes, and they have similarities in their helmets, but they're unique, and they all tend to fight with this sword. This is the version of their swords. So they all share the pauldrons and the swords.
And the sword is very significant because it is the same sword that the Believer uses. So the Believer has a named sword. He calls his sword Faith. And he thinks he has the only one. So when he runs into these guys and they're all fighting with the same sword as him, there's a connection there.
Yeah.
And that is going to blow his mind, and it's going to put a whole new... It's a whole new... Picture a story, and then this is going to be a side quest.
Yeah.
And
like we said in our timeline, and all the figures are in this snapshot moment, the Believer does not know about the connection with the swords.
No.
So...
Oh, he knows where he got his sword from his mentor, the guy that taught him when he left the monastery. He went away and he spent some time learning from another guy about vampires and creatures and how to destroy them and how to fight them and all that. Well, that sword was given to him by him. So the big question he's going to have is, why did my master have a Corrupteran sword? Why do I now have it? What's the significance of all this?
Yeah, and this is one twist that I love, but I'm sorry that we're not going to reveal anything more about that twist now.
It's interesting because it's like a dark shadow behind the main character of the story. So I like that. A big mystery to discover. I like this how you schedule or you decide to develop the story with many mystery
Yeah,
during
and
the way of the story. I like that because it's a good way to put the audience no in front of this story. They like the story to stay tuned to understand what happened next. So I like that.
yeah,
It's really cool.
and um, in this current sale, there is another head that we're selling there that is called the Acolyte. And if we say that the Corruptrons are all named characters, then they have masses of warriors. Oh, sorry, Luis. Sorry. Yeah, maybe we should have said that from the start, but it was okay. So, um, they are all named important characters, but of course they have other kinds of warriors or legions that are fighting as their army, as their well for them. Okay, and the acolytes, their masks are very simple. If the corruptors are very ornate, very special, the acolytes, both their pauldrons are quite simple, but with different resemblances. They have different details that goes back to the corruptors. Just some small stuff, but the masks. I mean, they don't even have helmets. They're just masks, and we'll reveal more about that thought behind that later on. But for now, it's simple to say that you need to see the difference between the ornate corruptors and the hordes of the acolytes. The all of them are covering their faces.
So this guy covered by mask looks like an army builder in your story.
Yes, yes, absolutely, yes. And I just got that head as well just a few days ago, so I haven't painted that up yet. That's what
I haven't
have you
painted.
one? You haven't painted it up?
I have not painted it yet. I would have shown pictures if I would have gotten that done, but no. I just got it recently as well.
So there are other army builder in both side, or in general the army builder are to the bad side.
No.
No, we have the angels. Want to talk about the angels?
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the good army, well, God's fire. Sometimes they I think I think you'll take that better. Okay.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
Well, another one of the twists on the character of the Fallen is that while he was doing bad things before he joined God's Fire, he became very rich, and he raised his own army. He could fund his own army. He had his own army of people that would take care of that he would ride with, and he would fight for whatever side paid him. He made money. He wanted revenge. And this whole time he's actually looking for the Dragon Warrior, which he can't seem to find. But to make a long story short, when he decides to go good and he decides to join up with God's Fire and fight with them, he kicks all the thugs out of his army and takes just the good guys and says, "You guys, I've got all the money I need. I'll fund this army for ever long as it takes. You guys go out and do good things." And so what that means is that while the Fallen is riding around with God's Fire, his army is out there too. And if God's Fire gets into a situation where they need troops or they need more guys, the Fallen can always call on his army. And his army, all his guys have a certain helmet that they wear, and we call that the Angels.
Yeah, the Angel Knights, and this also goes back to why the Fallen, as of course he lifts up the troops in his army that can do good, but think of himself as the fallen one. Maybe too late to be redeemed or whatever.
I don't know. For example, as a writer, I have my personal cost for each book that I publish, no? Because I won't see in my library the physical copy of my book. It's difficult to me understand how both of you can stay without a copy of your characters, guys. Come on, you need to have your copy to watch because like to see in real life your creation, no? Cool.
So this is what the angel mask looks like. So basically, what an angel looks like is basically this. His head's gonna sit a little high, but something similar to this.
It looks silly when it sits so high.
I know it does.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
I got
yeah,
too much clay in there or too much putty. But to get an idea,
yes. So and for the alliance, they also have since the alliance consists of characters from different races, different unhuman races, perhaps characters that go around living their day-to-day life with whatever they're doing, but called upon a war where the alliance is taking part, they put on the same kind of helmets as well, and they are the painmongers. So do you have a painmonger head there as well?
I think I do. I'm still working on. Let me see here.
Because the painmongers are. We released this head a long time ago, and this sale we actually released it for ogre scale, so that there will be ogre scale with that same helmet.
So a big, strong army.
Yes. So that's the painmongers.
Oh, this is really badass army builder because the face, the scalp, these horns, really scary army building. Because imagine when I listen your story, for example, I try to figure out the scene. No, imagine a land with this big, big monster army like this one. So it's really impressive.
So
In a battle against this ogre scale soldier, no,
Yes.
it's really scary scenario.
the idea behind the painmongers is they don't all have wouldn't all have the same uniform because they're hiding in plain sight during the day. So they could be the guy there. They could be the person that sells your, I don't know, bakes your bread for you in the morning, but at night when they go out to battle, he throws on that helmet, and now he's anonymous because he looks like everybody else, and that's how they kind of work.
There is in your story a huge monster, troll-sized monster, something like that.
That might look better.
That looks better. Yes.
It's a little high still, but
yeah. We haven't put in a troll character yet.
So
no, we have not.
Let's see if it happens in the future.
Definitely possible.
Yeah.
Definitely possible. We like different scales and different, so we're always trying to add new stuff. You know, a troll character just hasn't presented itself yet, but you never know when it will.
I think there is at least one character. I mean, even if we don't go through all the Mud Thumps, but I think we should show the main bad guy.
Okay.
Do you have it there? You have one painted, right?
The main Bobo?
I think in the whole story, the main bad guy
in the Mud Thumps.
In the God's Fire story.
Oh, in the God's Fire stories. Yes, I do. I do have one. Where is he? I swear I brought him in here.
I'm looking forward to paint this one and create this character as well. So like we said,
I'll be right back.
okay. What one fun thing with all the character is that, okay, for example, we take the Dragon Warrior. Then we basically have his pauldrons and the head sculpt. Other than that, you are free to create the whole character yourself, depending on how you envision it. To take part of the creation process. So my version of the Dragon Warrior will look different from Steven's version of the Dragon Warrior.
And there is also a reason behind that in the storyline, or is just to help a customized standpoint?
No, just from a customizer standpoint. Steven, I was just saying that we create a different version of, for example, the Dragon Warriors. We have the head and the pauldrons. Other than that, it's different. And I think the only main reason is that we love customizing, and others love it as well. So it's better to give that creative freedom to everyone to see how would they create the characters. So the story is, if we mention something about the armor or something in the story, for example, the Dragon Warrior, we talk about his dragon scale armor, okay? But if we don't say anything, then the fun thing is to create your own versions. Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to stifle creativity. We want to see it. So, create your own character of our characters, or don't create our characters. Use our parts to create something completely different. We don't care. Yeah. It's just fun.
I use the parts to create other things. I use one of the Corruptoran heads to create my Hawkeye, for example. And another one to create my Wolverine tribute character. So it's like,
the Fallen is Captain America.
And Batman.
So you want to see the big bad?
Yes, come on.
All right. Here is Lord Perosa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me something about this character.
Oh, he's evil. He is.
But Steven, he doesn't look evil.
Exactly. This is the guy that he's hiding. He's hiding in plain sight. He is well trusted. He is a political higher up. He is he's a wise old guy that people would ask for advice from, and inside he is the most evil person in the world. He is 1,000 years old or more. He changes if he's not going to reveal himself until he has to, but I picture this guy. I painted that one to be more of the hidden character, but if he were to go evil, I could see him with some glowing red eyes or something crazy. Yeah, basically, he's behind both sides of everything. He is a confidant of the Grand Leader, which is the Believer's boss. He is also the guy who is telling the Dragon Warrior what to do. He's getting off on this conflict between humankind and the creatures, and to simplify it, he's Emperor Palpatine. I mean, that's
cool. I understand also that the accessories, the weapon, has an important role in your story, because you told before about the sword of the believer. There are other weapon accessories that have an important rules like that in your storyline.
Yes, there are some that we haven't even created yet. My version of the Redeemer carries this staff, but this is a Masters of the Universe Classic staff. It's a stand-in until we can create one that there's a story behind it, and there's just this is the stand-in until we get our version of it. That staff comes with Eldor from Masters of the Universe Classics, which I use, but that is the Believer's walking stick, but it's much more or not the Believer's, the Redeemer's walking stick. But it is much more than that. And his big role in the story, unbeknownst to everybody, is basically his fate is to carry that to the person who needs it. And the person who needs that, it's going to make a big difference once they get that in their hands.
Cool. So now we are close to 2 hours, so maybe it's time for the final question. And this is my typical final question, and I want an answer individual for both of you, from both of you. And this question is for both of you is describe yourself with this project with just one word. So you need to pick one word to describe yourself with this project.
Passion.
Satisfaction.
Awesome. And there are two important things for an artist in the creation process, because an artist needs passion, but needs also gut satisfaction because of his passion. No? And so I think it's a really good answer for both guys. And now I go to the piano. But guys, before to go to the piano, to all of you that watch right now or later this episode, don't forget to do some things. First of all, go to the godfires.com. It is the name of your site. It's correct?
godsfireseries.com.
Okay. Go to that site to discover more about this awesome world built by two amazing artists. And also, don't forget to subscribe this channel for more episodes with many other guests. Also, if you join the channel as a member, you can share with me your collection, your Mythic Legions collection, or Cosmic, or whatever. And now I go to the piano, guys. Thanks for watching, my friends. And don't forget to follow the Godfires project. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Enjoy also my Mythic Legion song. Which song? This one. You got your legion. When you find your faction, find emotion in a magic war. So, my friends, thank you so much to enjoy the show. And see you soon, because maybe in the future, when more will be revealing your storyline, I will be happy to have you both in my show. And also, Steven, if you want me in your show, in your podcast to talk about the song, I'm available. So thank you, guys. And have a nice weekend. Have a nice night, day, or morning, whatever, because we are in different 3 parts in the world. And see you soon. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
So bye-bye to all.